Those three kind of stacked right on top of each other.
Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about this guy right here, and specifically the Mark V by Leupold, the 5-25x56. Before we get into it, make sure you follow me on Instagram at MadMaxGuns. You'll see behind the scenes videos, pictures, all sorts of stuff just to keep you in the loop. My videos have been coming out slower and slower these days just due to work, and the Instagram will just keep you in the loop. If you follow me on Instagram already, you've seen this gun months ago, and this wouldn't be a surprise to you. But make sure you follow me at MadMaxGuns, MADDMAXX Guns, and if you don't already, make sure you hit subscribe for obvious reasons. But what we got here is a Ruger American Action, short action. The reason the guy who built it, which I'll get into in a second, went with Ruger American is because it's got a tri-lug, and for the tri-lug gives you a shorter bolt throw. Now, off the Ruger American Action, we got a 6.5 caliber barrel. It is a 1-to-8 twist shilling. It's sitting in a MDT ESS chassis, and it has a Timney trigger. This gun was built by Bill Marr from rifleshooter.com. He wrote a couple articles on this, and I just happened to meet him down where I work right now, and I stopped by his shop and I picked it up because I wanted to make a dive into the caliber that this gun is, which we'll talk about in a second. But the MDT chassis, they're the best in the game. Everyone uses them for the most part for a reason, and yeah, you just can't beat them. But this is chambered in 6.5x47 Lapua. The title of this video probably says that, but if you don't know what that is, it's a 6.5 caliber. It's like a Wildcat cartridge. It's a little bit shorter than a 6.5 Creedmoor, and essentially you have to hand load for it because the only person that makes ammo for it is Lapua, and it's just hard to come by. And since I've been diving into the hand loads, it seemed appropriate, and everyone that I talked to about hand loading says it's the easiest caliber to hand load to have amazing results for. I'm going to throw up a couple groups in here for you. One of them's at 500 on paper, and you'll see the data there. It's sub MOA at 500, like a 3-point something inch group, and then out to 700 on steel. It's a 6-round group, 5 in the mag, 1 in the chamber, and that was holding for wind at 720, and it was still a 5-point whatever inch group, and it just had like a little bit of vertical stringing. So 6.5x47 Lapua, if you hand load, is an excellent option to go with. But let's talk about what this video is really about. We got a Leupold Mark V 5-to-25x56 front focal plane scope sitting in a spur mount. Before we start talking about what I think about the scope, I'm just gonna dive through the specs real quick. It's 30 ounces. It's pretty light for the size of this. My Night Force 4-16 is 30 ounces, but when you're shooting bolt guns, weight can kind of be your friend sometimes. The heavier the gun, the less recoil there's going to be. It is 16, just over 16.5 inches without the sunshade. It's probably closer to 19 inches with the sunshade. The tube, this is a kind of a con for me, but at the same time, I like different things. It's like the hipster in me. It's a 35mm tube. Not many, the popular tube lengths are 1 inch, 30mm, 34mm. I've seen one scope with 40mm, but that doesn't matter. 35mm will get you a little more light transmission coming through than 34, obviously, and supposedly gives you a little more adjustment in the scope. But yeah, 35mm tube. If you're cool with finding some abstract mount, go for it. This is sitting in a spur mount, like I said before. I love the spur mount. It's rigid. It's like the gold standard. It has the bubble level in it. That's huge. The eye relief is said to be just over 3.5 inches. Now, for me personally, the eye relief is perfect right about here. If that's 3.5 inches, then that's 3.5 inches. It is what it is. The field of view goes from 20 feet at 5 times magnification down to 4.25 feet at 25 magnification. That seems to be just about right for 5-25s. It is illuminated. I have a TMR reticle in this, just like the inner portion of the TMR reticle gets lit up with it. I don't really use the illumination on it, but it's the dial how I like it, where it goes on, off, on, off, on, off as you go up. So you don't have to go from, say you like it at 7, you don't have to crank it all the way down to 0. It's just in between. It's got a side parallax adjustment here, just like most scopes do now. That's good. It comes with a throw lever integrated. That's what most scope companies seem to be going to nowadays, instead of having to buy one and clip it on and be a huge pain in the ass. It has a diopter adjustment back here. This one I have all the way in. That's just the way it works with my eyes. Your eyes might be different. Comes with the scope caps. Came with the sunshade. I was unaware of that when I bought it, but it's because I bought another, and I used to mess around, put the sunshade. It came out to here. It looked really funny, but it was pretty dumb. But yeah, it comes with one. You don't need to buy it. Remember that. The windage is capped, and this is a little weird. The windage is like, the 0 for it is a little offset. It comes in from this angle instead of like the typical this angle. They do that because they say when you're looking down, you can just peek up a little instead of having to cank your head around. For me, I hold for wind more times than not, so it doesn't make a difference to me, but I understand why they did it. The adjustment clicks on this are pretty loud and tactile. Big fan of that. If you saw my video, if it came out already, if not, it didn't, you'll know. That was my only complaint of the Nightforce ATACR for the windage adjustments. Were kind of not too clicky, they're more mushy. Now, this has a 0 hold. They call it a 0 stop, but it's like Nightforce's 0 hold. But listen to these clicks, this is fantastic. But if you don't know what a 0 hold is, you're dialed to 0 mils right now. This is 1/10 mil adjustments, by the way. But you push in this button here. This has a button, and then you rotate. Now the values for your adjustments are kind of offset here. So to make sure you know which one you're at, every time you do a full rotation, something will change on this dial. There is a little detent here that comes level with the top of the scope, and the button is in. Now you go another full rotation, the button is actually set into the knob, and then this little detent here sticks up and out. And then you stop at 30 mils of adjustment. Now, what's cool about the 0 hold, or 0 stop for Leupold with this new system, is that you're all the way up, you just keep going, and you just stop. And the button sets it in. You can go under 0, 1 mil. The reason they do that is just in case you're shooting inside of your 0 distance, you don't have to hold under. I get it, but I 0 at 100, and inside of 100, I use this as, this is like a target / competition gun, so is it necessary? No, but I'm glad that they did it. Better to have and not need than need and not have, as always, like everyone likes to say. But let's talk about how they market this. They market it as lightweight and compact. Lightweight, short, compact, just the same size as any other scope in its class. It's waterproof, fog-proof. The high-speed power selector, it's on 25, you back it off to 5. It's not even a full 180 of movement, but yeah, it's firm but not too firm. It's smooth but not too smooth. It's like right in the middle where you want it to be. Like we talked about, the eyepiece, the diopter adjustment, it's fast focus. I haven't used it. I leave it all the way in. That's just the way my eyes work. And it has the full lifetime warranty by Leupold. That's huge. Yeah, that speaks for itself. I don't really need to talk on that. And the scope itself sells for right around $2,200. Usually you can sometimes buy it for less if you're looking at a showroom deal. I'll let you on a little secret. It's not really a secret, most companies do, but if you're a military, law enforcement, first responder, you can set up a account with Leupold and they help you out. Do a little research for that for yourself. I'll leave it at that. But this scope, for its cost, is hard to beat. I can't think of any I know I say that a lot about things, but there are scopes that you get and then you're like, oh, I paid $1,000 for this, but a $600 scope that I bought, I like more. I've had other scopes that are 5 to 25s or 6 to 24s or 4 to 24s, in that range. And of the ones that I've had, this is the nicest. The glass has the edge-to-edge clarity. There's no like fish bowling, fish eye effect, whatever you want to call it, around the edge like they are with some of the less expensive scopes. The one thing, complaint, if you call it a complaint, most scopes do this. When you dial it all the way up to 25 and it's hot out and the sun's beating, the mirage can get pretty bad, so you have to take it back to like 22 or 20. That's a pretty typical thing if you're not shooting out super far. Like, I typically only shoot out to like 720, and you don't even need to dial it up to 25. Like, at that distance, to hit a 2/3 size silhouette, you can shoot that at 10 power all day. It's nicer, you can kind of pinpoint shots better with higher magnification, but it is what it is. You shoot that at 20, you're fine. I understand people will be like, oh, well, you're spending this much money on a scope, you don't want it to, you want to be able to use it to its full potential. Yeah, I understand that by the 35 times, I guess. But for 5 to 25 at this price point of right around $2,000, give or take a couple hundred, I think that's hard to beat. Is there better scopes out there? Sure. The Mark 6, which I believe is a 3 to 18, isn't really in the same ballpark, but there are scopes that are, like Night Force ATACR, which is about another $500. Is it better? Probably. Negligible. You're going to diminishing after this price point. You're kind of getting into diminishing returns. You got Schmidt & Benders, which have been like the golden standard for long range shooting. The military's used them forever, but those are like, you're looking at like $3,600. Is that scope worth $1,600 more than this? My eyes, no. If you want to go out there and get the Schmidt & Bender, I want one too. But if you're getting it because you think that it's worth the cost, that's debatable. If you're getting it because you like the idea of having a Schmidt & Bender all day, I understand that. But this also comes in 7 to 35 and 3.6, I believe, to 18. Before I bought my ATACR, I was looking at the 3.6 to 18. Didn't jump on it. I found a good deal on the other one, on the ATACR, and I've always been more of a Night Force guy. I have a couple Leupolds. I've had a couple Leupolds in the past. They never let me down. But I prefer Night Force. That's just a personal preference. But there's a reason I didn't buy the 5 to 25. Because I already had this, and if I was going to use a 5 to 25, I would have just got something else for this and used this on that gun, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, this Mark 5 is like what a lot of people are going to for DMRs with the 3.6 to 18 or long range. I've been seeing a lot of guys in the PRS circuit use the 5 to 25 and the 7 to 35. But for what I'm doing, which is just some long range target shooting, reloading, and then maybe one day I'll get into competition shooting, this 5 to 25 is money. Do I have any complaints about it? Not really. I probably would have gotten like a Horus reticle, something with the Christmas tree, but the TMR works fine. It's really good if you're learning holdovers, if you're just learning to like wind, because that wind is something that takes forever. If you go to a long range class, you'll understand. But again, any complaints at all? Not really. If out of a rating, what would I give it? Probably 9. And an 8.8 to a 9.2. And that's, like, objectively speaking, not based on price. I can't really compare it to anything because it's kind of like its own range. It's not in the super expensive scopes, but it's not in like the super cheap scopes. For long range shooting, the rule of thumb I always heard was have double of what you paid for your gun in your glass. Is that smart? Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. It makes sense to me. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to what you're going to be using it for. If you're going to be using it for a long range precision gun, absolutely. If you're going to be using it on an AR-15 that shoots 5.56, the 5 to 25 is probably going to be a little much. I see a lot of people using the mid-range one, the 3.6 to 18. That would probably fit you great. And they come in and right around like $1,500, which I think is a pretty sweet deal for that scope, considering that a Mark 6 1-6 is like the same price, maybe a little more. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this. Big 2 thumbs up on this large individual. 35mm tube, a little weird. If you're into it, you're into it. I'm into it. I'm also like a hipster when it comes to guns. But tell me what you think about it. Drop it in the comments. If you've got any questions about the gun, the scope, anything that we spoke about in this video, also drop that in the comments. Obviously, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, as always, eat a dick. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. I got 2 videos over here and here for you to check out, and I will see you next time.